She had already disappeared inside the plant when he made his choice. The giant carnivorous flower snapped shut with a sound like thunder. Acid dripped from its jagged inner petals. The alien girl's scream echoed through the jungle, then stopped. Most hunters would have watched. Most hunters would have waited for the plant to finish digesting. But Commander Elias Rourke was not most. And humanity was not known for walking away. The jungles of Nexus Prime were not normal wilderness. They were alive in a way that felt intentional. The trees were black like polished stone, stretching hundreds of feet into the sky. 2 pale suns burned above, barely piercing the thick emerald canopy. Everything here hunted. The ground shifted without warning. Vines moved when there was no wind. Even the flowers had teeth. Elias moved carefully through the dense growth, his boots sinking slightly into warm soil that almost seemed to breathe. His tactical suit adjusted to the heat automatically, but sweat still ran down his back. He had been tracking the alien fugitive for 6 days. Her name was Zyra Vallin, former intelligence analyst for the Karath Dominion, officially charged with treason, sabotage, and mass data theft. Unofficially, something didn't make sense. Humans were new to galactic politics, but they learned fast. And Elias had learned one thing about powerful alien empires. They lied. His wrist scanner pulsed. Close. Very close. Through the shifting leaves, he saw her. Green skin that shimmered faintly in the filtered sunlight. Silver hair tied back tight. Lean, fast, focused. She moved with trained precision across the clearing ahead. She didn't look like a criminal. She looked like someone running out of time. Then the ground beneath her moved. Elias saw it half a second before she did. The soil split open. A massive bud exploded upward, easily 15 feet tall, petals unfolding like a nightmare blooming. Rows of white, curved spikes lined its inner throat. Thick vines shot out, wrapping around her waist and legs. She cut one vine with a blade of blue energy. 2 more replaced it. The plant dragged her toward its glowing red core. Acid dripped from above. She screamed again. Elias didn't think. He ran. He threw down his pack and leapt into the clearing just as the plant began sealing shut around her torso. He drew his plasma machete and swung hard. The blade sliced through a vine with a flash of steam. The plant shrieked, an awful, metallic sound. Another vine snapped toward him. He rolled, cut again, then grabbed her arm with his free hand. "Hold on," he shouted. She looked at him in shock, violet eyes wide, just as the plant tightened. He pulled with everything he had. The suit amplified his strength, but the plant was massive. Muscles burned. The acid hissed inches from his helmet. "Humans don't quit," he muttered through clenched teeth. With a final roar, he cut the last binding vine. They both tumbled backward as the plant snapped shut again, empty. The ground trembled as it retreated beneath the soil. Silence returned. Zyra lay on her back, breathing hard. Acid burns smoked lightly on her arm, but she was alive. She stared at him. "You," she whispered. "You are human." "That obvious?" Elias replied, pulling her to her feet. "You were sent to capture me." "Yes." "And yet you interfered." "Yes." She studied him carefully. "Why?" Elias checked the jungle around them. Something large was moving in the distance. "Because," he said calmly, "where I come from, we don't let someone get eaten if we can stop it." "That is illogical." "Yeah," he shrugged. "We get that a lot." A deep roar echoed from deeper in the jungle. Not a plant this time. Something worse. Elias grabbed his pack. "We need higher ground. Now." They climbed rocky terrain just as night began swallowing the jungle. Strange glowing insects filled the air. Massive shadows moved between trees. Elias activated a portable shield emitter. A faint blue barrier shimmered around their small camp. Zyra sat across from him, applying a healing gel to her burned skin. She watched him with careful suspicion. "You saved me," she said finally. "But you still intend to return me to the Dominion." That depends, he replied. On what? On whether your story makes sense. She was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke. The Dominion is preparing something. A planetary cleansing protocol. Elias didn't react, but he listened. They have identified Earth as a destabilizing species. He smiled slightly. That's one way to describe us. They fear your unpredictability, your innovation speed, your emotional bonding structures. You do not behave within expected probability curves. Again, he said, we hear that a lot. They believe humanity will surpass them within 2 generations. And so they plan to remove the variable. The jungle noises grew louder in the dark. Elias leaned forward slightly. You have proof? Yes. Where? She hesitated. In my neural vault. Encoded. He studied her face carefully. You're asking me to trust you. I am asking you to survive, she replied. A heavy impact struck the outer shield. Both of them jumped to their feet. Something enormous circled the camp. The barrier flickered. Elias drew his pulse rifle. Zyra ignited her energy blade. Through the darkness, glowing yellow eyes appeared. Multiple sets. The shield cracked. Zyra looked at him. If we survive this night, she said quietly, will you still turn me in? Elias checked the rifle charge. Lady, he said calmly, if what you're saying is true. The shield shattered. The first beast lunged forward. Then we're going to have a much bigger problem than bounty contracts. And humanity? Humanity had just been threatened. That was always a mistake. The first creature hit the broken shield like a falling tank. It was all muscle and bone plates, with 6 legs and a jaw that opened sideways. Its roar shook the stone beneath their feet. Behind it, more yellow eyes flickered in the dark. Zyra moved first. Her energy blade flashed in a sharp blue arc, slicing across the creature's front limb. The beast shrieked but did not fall. Elias did something unexpected. He didn't shoot. He turned off his rifle. Zyra stared at him in disbelief. What are you doing? Winning, he said calmly. Instead of firing, he slammed a small disc onto the ground and kicked it toward the charging pack. The disc rolled between them and activated. A burst of blinding white light exploded outward. The jungle creatures recoiled instantly. Their roars turned into confused snarls. They stumbled, crashing into trees and each other. Zyra blinked. A flash device. Not just light, Elias replied. Frequency disruption. Your jungle friends hunt by thermal and vibration mapping. I just scrambled both. The beasts thrashed blindly. Elias grabbed Zyra's arm. Run left. Narrow ridge. Funnel point. She didn't question him this time. They sprinted along the rocky edge while the disoriented predators smashed into each other behind them. One leapt wildly and fell straight into a cluster of carnivorous vines below. The vines wrapped instantly, dragging the beast screaming into the darkness. Zyra looked back in shock. You used the environment against them. Elias gave a quick grin. Humans are good at that. They reached a tight stone pass between 2 tall cliffs. Elias pulled another device from his belt and planted it at the entrance. What now? She asked. Now we let them think they cornered us. The first predator charged into the pass seconds later. Elias tapped his wrist control. The device detonated, not in fire, but in sound. A deep sonic wave blasted forward. The narrow stone walls amplified it into a focused shock tunnel. The creature's bone armor cracked instantly. It collapsed mid-stride. The rest of the pack stopped. Confused. Hesitant. Predators were not used to prey that fought back intelligently. Your technology is not superior, Zyra said quietly. It doesn't have to be, Elias replied. It just has to be used better. The remaining beasts slowly backed into the jungle shadows. Silence returned again. Zyra looked at him differently now. Not as a bounty hunter. Not as a threat. But as something else. Your species adapts too quickly, she said. Yeah, he replied. We've had practice. They did not return to the camp. Instead, Elias led them deeper toward higher cliffs that overlooked the jungle canopy. From there, the twin moons of Nexus Prime glowed faintly above. Zyra activated a small holographic projection from her wrist. A star map appeared between them. This is Dominion territory, she said, highlighting multiple systems. And here. She zoomed toward Earth's location. A faint red grid appeared around it. Cleansing fleet, she whispered. Elias' expression hardened. How long? 3 standard cycles. That's, 10 Earth days. She nodded. They believe humans will not detect fleet movement until too late. Elias almost laughed. That's their first mistake. She studied him carefully. You believe your people can resist the Dominion War Armada? No, he said honestly. She blinked. But we won't resist it the way they expect. He tapped his wrist console and opened a secure channel. There was static at first. Then a voice. Rourke, you better have something worth breaking silence for. I do, Elias said. Full-scale extinction event in 10 days. Silence. Then, send data. Zyra hesitated. If you transmit Dominion encryption signatures, they will trace. They'll try, Elias interrupted. He looked at her. Do you trust me? She paused only a moment this time. Yes. She linked her neural vault to his device. Streams of alien code flooded the display. Elias transmitted it. Far above Nexus Prime's atmosphere, a small human stealth satellite blinked alive and relayed the data through quantum burst channels. Across Earth, hidden systems activated. Emergency councils met. Scientists woke from sleep. Military AI recalculated probability trees. Humanity did not panic. Humanity prepared. Back on the cliff, Zyra watched him closely. You did not hesitate, she said. About choosing your species over your contract. Elias shrugged. I was hired to capture a fugitive. I wasn't hired to help wipe out my home planet. You believe me completely now. He looked at her seriously. No, but I believe the data. She nodded slowly. A distant flash lit the sky. They both looked up. High above the clouds, a faint streak crossed the upper atmosphere. Zyra's face went pale. They are early. Elias squinted. No, he said quietly. That's not Dominion signature. Another streak appeared. Then another. Dozens. Human orbital defense drones decloaked one by one like stars turning on. Zyra stared in shock. You were already watching. Always, Elias said. A new voice came through his comm. Commander Rourke. Global Defense Network active. Civilian evacuation protocols initiated. We're reading unidentified fleet signatures at the edge of the system. Elias smiled slightly. Good. Let them come in loud. Zyra looked at him carefully. You are not afraid. Of course I am, he said calmly. Then why smile? Because they think we're prey. High above, the first Dominion scout ships dropped from warp. They expected fear. They expected confusion. They expected an unprepared species. Instead, Earth's outer defense grid lit up like a storm. Not attacking. Not yet. Scanning. Mapping. Learning. Zyra felt something she had not expected. Hope. You are planning something, she said. Elias' eyes reflected the burning lights in the sky. Yeah, he answered softly. Humans don't just survive extinction events. The sky trembled as more Dominion ships arrived. Elias tightened his grip on his rifle. We turn them into lessons. And far across space, the Dominion commanders began to realize something was wrong. Very wrong. They had come to erase a species. They were about to meet one that solved problems under pressure. And humanity performed best when cornered. The Dominion fleet entered Earth's orbit in perfect formation. Hundreds of warships. Silver hulls shaped like blades. Energy cores glowing like cold stars. They had erased civilizations older than human history. They had reduced planets to ash in hours. Their strategy was simple: overwhelm, sterilize, move on. Efficiency over emotion. Logic over mercy. From the bridge of the Dominion flagship, Supreme Executive Varel studied Earth on the main display. Primitive, one of his officers said. Industrial emissions. Fragmented governments. Limited unified command. Varel's eyes narrowed. And yet they innovate at abnormal rates. A tactical officer stepped forward. Outer defense grid detected. Human satellites and drone arrays. Insufficient to threaten our main fleet. Varel gave a single nod. Begin cleansing protocol. The fleet's front line shifted. Massive cannons charged with planet-cracking energy. On Earth, alarms sounded across continents. In underground bunkers, human commanders watched the sky. No panic. No screaming. Just focused movement. Phase 1 ready, said General Myra Kane. Execute, replied the Global Council. Above Earth, something strange happened. Instead of firing at the Dominion fleet, the human satellites began transmitting. Thousands of signals. Billions of data bursts. Encrypted noise flooded space. Dominion scanners flickered. Executor Varel frowned. What is this interference? It appears to be communication spam. Spam? Yes. Randomized broadcast patterns. Mathematical noise. Cultural archives. Music. Video. Code. Civilian chatter. Varel's expression darkened. Why? Back on Nexus Prime's cliff, Elias watched the orbital battle unfold through a holographic feed. Zyra stood beside him, stunned. They are jamming you, she whispered. Elias shook his head. No. We're jamming them. In orbit, Dominion targeting systems began recalculating constantly. Human transmissions overloaded predictive algorithms. Every human device, from satellites to private home routers, had joined the defense network. Billions of unpredictable signals. Humanity weaponized its chaos. Varel slammed a clawed hand onto the command console. Filter the noise. We are attempting to, Executor, but their data patterns are non-linear. They adapt every second. On Earth, human AI systems monitored Dominion countermeasures. Every time the aliens filtered one pattern, humans created 3 more. Children's cartoons were embedded with shifting encryption keys. Old rock music hid algorithm disruptors. Weather satellites transmitted false gravity readings. Nothing was random. It only looked that way. Zyra stared at Elias. You turned your entire civilization into a shield. He smiled faintly. We're good at multitasking. The Dominion fleet fired its first wave. Planet killer beams streaked toward Earth. Then something impossible happened. The beams bent. Slightly. Just enough. They missed their intended strike zones and hit empty ocean. Varel stood frozen. Explain. A trembling officer responded. They have deployed microsatellite gravitic reflectors, hidden within their orbital debris fields. Human engineers had quietly launched thousands of tiny gravity modulators over the past year, disguised as junk cleanup drones. No one noticed. Until now. Elias crossed his arms. We knew someone bigger would show up eventually. Zyra looked at him in disbelief. You prepared for extinction, before it was announced. Humans study history, he said softly. We've been nearly wiped out more than once. Ice ages. Plagues. World wars. Another Dominion strike launched. Again. Distorted. Again. Redirected. But the Dominion adapted quickly. Their second wave shifted frequency. This time, several beams struck human orbital defenses directly. Satellites exploded. Debris burned in the atmosphere. Cities below trembled. Zyra's breath caught. You are losing assets. Yeah, Elias admitted. Phase 1 was never about winning. On Earth, General Kane issued the next command. Release the mirrors. From the dark side of the moon, something massive unfolded. Solar sails. Gigantic reflective arrays, built secretly within lunar craters. They rotated into position. The Dominion fleet fired again. This time, their beams struck the sails. And reflected. Straight back. 3 Dominion cruisers vanished in blinding explosions. Silence filled the Dominion flagship. Varel stared at the destruction. Impossible. A lower officer whispered, they used our own energy output against us. On Nexus Prime, Zyra felt something unfamiliar. A laugh. You baited them, she said. Elias nodded. They assumed we'd block. Or dodge. Or retreat. Another Dominion warship erupted into flame. We let them think we were desperate. Varel's voice echoed through his bridge. Deploy planetary invasion units. Overwhelm ground resistance. Remove command structure. Dropships descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Thousands. Zyra's expression turned serious. Ground invasion is their strength. Superior soldiers. Enhanced physiology. Elias activated another channel. Phase 3. Welcome party. Across Earth, something stirred. Not soldiers. Not tanks. Factories. Civilian industries shifted instantly to wartime output. Construction drones became combat drones. Mining lasers recalibrated into anti-armor cannons. Autonomous farming equipment repurposed into battlefield support units. Human cities transformed into living defense networks. The first Dominion troops landed in what they assumed would be chaos. Instead, they faced coordinated resistance powered by civilian technology. Delivery drones swarmed them with flash explosives. Self-driving trucks formed mobile barricades. AI traffic systems redirected entire urban layouts in real time to trap enemy units. Zyra watched, stunned. You weaponized your infrastructure. Elias' voice was calm. We weaponized being human. On the Dominion flagship, panic spread. Executor Varel stared at the battlefield feeds. They are not fighting like prey. No, Executor. Varel whispered slowly. They are fighting like evolution itself. On Earth, humans stood together, nations unified not by treaty, but survival. Scientists and soldiers worked side by side. Programmers hacked Dominion armor mid-combat. Engineers rewrote energy grids in real time. No central hive mind. No genetic superiority. Just billions of minds solving problems at once. Zyra looked at Elias quietly. They tried to erase your species. He nodded. They made a mistake. Above Earth, the Dominion fleet began retreat calculations. Losses were mounting. Unexpected variables multiplying. Varel's final transmission echoed through human channels. You are chaotic. Emotional. Illogical. Elias answered from Nexus Prime, his signal patched through Earth Command. Yeah, he said simply. But we're still here. The Dominion fleet withdrew from orbit. Not destroyed. But not victorious. Earth remained. Scarred. Burning in places. But alive. Zyra turned to him. What happens now? Elias looked up at the stars. Now, he said slowly, we send a message. What message? He smiled. The kind only humans send. Across space, a single transmission left Earth's system. Not a threat. Not an insult. An invitation. Coordinates. Open channel. Dialogue proposal. Zyra stared in disbelief. You offer peace, after they tried to erase you. Elias shrugged. Someone has to be smarter. She studied him for a long moment. Your species is terrifying. He chuckled. We prefer creative. Far beyond the stars, the Dominion Council received Earth's signal. They had come to erase humanity. Instead, they had discovered something far more dangerous. A species that learned faster than fear. A species that turned extinction into innovation. A species that refused to disappear. And this was only the first encounter. Humanity had just introduced itself to the galaxy, and the galaxy would never see war the same way again.